Start recording now. Okay, so your name is Brady.
Yeah, that's right.
How old are you?
I'm 31 years old.
And where are you from?
I'm from northern British Columbia, Canada, small town Terrace.
Okay, do you still live around there?
Yeah. Well, I actually growing up, I lived in lots of small towns, but I went to high school here, so I guess this is my hometown.
Okay.
Considering, yeah.
Um, how much? How long have you been into typology?
Well, I first learned about it in 2015. I think I took a test when I first started my engineering job, and the description was pretty bang on, but I didn't really get into it after that. But I used sort of the strengths and weaknesses and sort of integrated that, and then sort of took it as a chip on the shoulder, and have been challenged myself since then. And then last year I was an operations supervisor for about a year, but I quickly realized that that role was totally against my personality, and like I've taken on so many challenges, and but that one it was like rejected it and went through some burnout, and then so I started looking into typology again and sort of trying to recalibrate and understand what went wrong, and go on to the next chapter.
Okay, so you've really been getting into it for about the past year.
Yeah, probably about like the past 3 months been sort of obsessed with it, and then
Okay,
sort of got in all the cognitive functions and learned about different types and how different people interact, and yeah, so
and what's been your primary way of learning about it?
uh primary way through YouTube videos actually. Yeah.
Okay, so I got to ask you, what would you really like to get out of this session? Because if I recall correctly, you did make a comment on one of my YouTube videos identifying yourself as an INTP. Um,
Yeah.
I
So
imagine
yeah,
with
so I
some
guess
level
sort
of
of outed
certainty.
myself a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was, I guess, yeah, going through my own head, I'm pretty sure I'm an INTP, but I just sort of know that from like the journey of my life, I guess. So I guess I was interested watching Joyce's videos on uh normally I get like obsessed with like things for a few months, and then I move on to the next topic once I figured out I've done learning about that.
Hmm.
But watching Joyce's videos a couple weeks ago, I noticed like how I can like really observe people's like mannerisms. It's like pretty obvious their types. That it kind of made me sort of interested in that community, and just it was sort of like real time, I guess, what are my cognitive functions. So yeah, I didn't want to bias the test, so I was thinking about that later. I was like, I probably outed myself
Yeah, you did.
in the comments, but um, yeah.
Okay. So is that the type that you first got like 5 years ago?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
that was the type, and it was like you know, messy but smart, like always stuck in your head. Uh, a daisy chain of thoughts is, I think, one saying that kind of stuck with me, and like your sort of picture your life on a journey, and is what I, yeah, really resonates with me. But then when I took the test like a few months ago, I would get like INFJ, then I would got INTJ, INFP, and that's when I started to learn about the cognitive functions and how those tests are more behavior based, And I was thinking as like I've challenged myself in project management and different roles where you need to get things done and you need to like talk talk with people more. That maybe I don't know if my answers are biased or I just think about it differently. But so yeah,
Oh, whatever. So I'll ask you the same question I ask everybody. What were you like when you were a little kid?
when I was a kid, I was super quiet, super shy, but I was always good, really good at sports. Um, I was good at school. Yeah, as a 5 to 6 year old kid.
What did you?
Uh,
What did you enjoy doing most of the time on your own?
on my own. Uh, yeah, mostly team sports, like sports where you don't have to talk to people. You just you win by scoring a goal, or I like skiing a lot. Soccer. Yeah, I was kind of it was part of my identity as sports, I guess. And yeah, just being good at things, a variety of things.
Okay. Um, how's your like hand-eye coordination? Were you ever good at like sports where you had to like throw and catch, or like baseball or maybe tennis?
Yeah, so I was pretty good at that.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a question that makes me question everything. But yeah, as I got older, as it became less of a meritocracy and like your, uh, I know everyone's social skills develop, and you're like more popular by like the gift of gab or things like that. That's when I sort of felt more like an outsider
Mm,
as a child.
okay.
So I still was good at sports and school, but was was more of a loner, I guess. I still had lots of friends, but yeah, I was never
Would you
always
say
felt.
would you say you've managed to get some popularity or meet people by virtue of being good at sports, or was there maybe some other reason?
uh yeah, I guess, yeah, I got a lot of attention, like being good at hockey and soccer. And then as we moved, like it was kind of weird how every small town is different. Like here in BC, there was lots of activity focused based things, and then I moved to Alberta. In a small town, it was more of a like a stoner community with instruments. So then I stopped playing sports and started playing guitar, and then I moved back to BC again, and then I sort of just skied and mountain biked. So whatever all the kids were doing is what hobbies I would pick up, and I've never really been able to like have my own hobbies that I'm interested in. I like not really sure what I want to do. I'm like interested in everything, so whatever everyone else is doing, that's what I'll go along with.
Okay. So you said you did well academically too.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. Didn't really have to try too hard. I always sort of like did the minimum to do good. Like I like getting well, but whatever my peers were doing, I would probably stay in the top 20%. But it's the same thing as I went to engineering school. Like it was a big step up, but I would basically just do enough to get good, get by, and then yeah.
Okay, so you're never like super focused on like maximizing your academic performance, basically.
No, yeah, and I always like whatever I'm doing. I kind of like got to date think about the future. So if I'm taking ecology class, I need to like picture that I'm going to be have a PhD in ecology one day, and then otherwise I won't be motivated to do it. So
Huh.
yeah,
Interesting. So
but
you kind of need to have an end goal in mind when you set out to do something, or is that only with specific things?
um, yeah, yeah, I sort of like need to know like what's going to happen in the next 5 years. Otherwise, I feel like sort of in a crossroads. Like right now I've been a process engineer for 7 years, but I sort of change roles every year, so I probably had 7 distinct roles, and like laterally moving around. So I've learned about that, and then I'm interested in the next thing. But yeah, so I'm not sure where to move next to be honest. But yeah,
So why do you keep moving? Is it just because you get bored?
yeah, I think so. I think that's what it is. That's what I'm trying to figure out, like why I'm not satisfied. Uh, like I'm in the like once I'm done learning about it, I want to learn something else, or yeah, I'll be like killing it at something, and then I'm like, I'll try the next thing, and then like gets more extreme. So like, I wonder if I could do that, and then
Okay,
and
so
then yeah, so then it ended up like cycling into the burnout last year, where I was like, I knew operation supervisor would be like would be a square peg in a round hole type of thing, but I was like, I wonder if I could do it, but then yeah, didn't work out.
so you like to challenge yourself as you
Yeah,
move?
yeah.
Okay. So it's not just necessarily moving laterally, but you like to move up to some degree, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't really picture like people as up or down, or roles up or down, but yeah, like growth as a person, I guess.
Okay, so you're not necessarily, are you necessarily trying to find jobs that are like harder or have more responsibility or pay more or anything like that?
Yeah, more responsibility, I guess, but
Okay,
I figured it's not really working for me that way
fair
for
enough.
sure. Yeah.
So when did you decide that you wanted to be an engineer?
Well, I took 2 years of science at the community college here. I was gonna go into medical school. I have four daughters, so I had my first daughter when I was in high school. We sort of changed plans a bit. I couldn't really picture going to school for 8 more years after that, so I just was thought of engineering as like as yeah, 'cause I like to be the person who could troubleshoot and figure things out. That's sort of why this typology thing's kind of interesting to me. It's because I watch it, and then I there's something going on that the person is noticing, but I don't notice it. Like that mystery kind of makes me want to keep learning until I figure it out. Like my best skill is definitely um, troubleshooting things. So if there's a challenge where I don't know what if there's a problem that comes up, I can find the solution more or less. And
What?
1 second. You keep it keeps making noise on my computer, like your phone is disconnecting and reconnecting.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So you can just put it in the outlet or something. Sorry. Anyway,
no worries.
so when you say you're good at troubleshooting, is that something you've noticed about yourself, like since you were young? Um,
Uh, yeah, yeah, like problem solving, but more like abstract problem solving. Not like I'm not the hands-on person who's gonna fix the engine or your car, but if there's a if there's like a process problem, I'll be able to figure it out for sure. Like I don't know how to
so
explain it really.
I'm wondering if you can give any like day-to-day examples of that.
Okay. Uh, well, yeah, I don't want to get into work
Like, well,
specific,
not
but
not work actually. Maybe just some time where you like fix a problem for somebody, like maybe a friend or a family member.
Yeah.
or help me figure something out.
Yeah, maybe I'm not so good at it. Not so much social problems, but definitely not social problems. Like if someone came to me with an issue like this, how to solve it. But uh,
Hell, even if their air conditioner broke or something like that, I don't know.
yeah. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Like for example, like the hitch was not going onto the truck that we were trying to load some bouncy castles on that we do on the side. So brother-in-law just kept like jumping on top of it to try to make it ram on, but I could tell that like the hook thing was not pulling the piece in all the way correctly, so I just rolled underneath and held it so it would come down all the way. But it's
Okay.
not the greatest example, but yeah, stuff
No, I
like
mean,
that.
that works. So going back to kind of your social experiences, um, what would you say, I guess, kept you from feeling like you were socially connected with other people? Like, did you have any kind of social anxiety, or did you just not really weren't really that interested in other people necessarily, or what was it?
Yeah, mostly. Yeah, I guess that's social anxiety. Like especially if I'm in a new group of people, I'll be the most quiet. Like I'll be in the top 1%, quietest person in the room. But and then eventually, as I get to understand a bit about them, then I'll talk. I'll figure out their sort of like a game where you figure out their hobbies, and then you can small talk your way through a conversation, and then maybe you'll bring up something you're interested in a bit more, and then you'll see if like you can get a conversation. But yeah, I don't know. Some people you talk to, and you're mostly like trying to learn things. Like for example, like traveling with a group of people. Uh, One of my friends from college, we would drive, and I'll be like, oh, I wonder what that city is over there, that trail. I wonder what industry holds up this town. Like what job you would have to work here. So I like traveling a lot, and like he would get frustrated by all these questions. Like I don't know, like I know the same amount as you. Why are you asking? I was like, I wasn't asking like for you to give me the answer. I was just like sort of trying to brainstorm on what was going on there.
Mhm.
But yeah. So unless I know someone will how they're going to react, I guess I have a hard time talking to them.
So
But
you're just afraid that they'll react negatively to whatever you're saying?
yeah, I don't know if that's really the feeling, but yeah, I just like to observe until I know like what to say, I guess. I always feel like I need to say something insightful or as like a weird thing. Like when someone's small talking, you're like, uh, it's hard to respond, like, because you always feel like I need to say something, make a good comment on it. But like when it's hot today, you're like, yeah, it is hot today, I guess. And then you don't know where the conversation should go after that, but
Okay.
type of thing. Yeah.
So kind of like you don't talk much, but when you do say something, you want it to make an impact.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I gotcha. Um, so do you have a lot of friends right now in your life?
Uh, no, not so much. Yeah, got my wife, got my brother, which I don't talk too much anymore, and then yeah, a few family members, but no super close friends for sure.
Okay. Did you ever have any close friends?
Yeah, in high school, I had a few close friends, but yeah, I'm not very good at keeping in touch. So there's
Right.
probably one friend from Alberta that I'll still like pick up the phone every 6 months and talk to, but that's about it.
Well, what did you do with those friends in high school when you hung out?
Watch movies, jump on the trampoline, bike bike around. Um, yeah, things outside, play video games. Not, I was never super into video games, but yeah, basically whatever other people want to do is what.
Gotcha. What do you do for fun now?
Now I go for walks every day with the kids. Uh, like things I like to fish. I like to ski. I don't do those very often. Mostly in my free time. Just watch TV, work out a bit, lift some weights, but um, yeah, take the kids to different events. Keeps my time pretty full.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you find it difficult to like sit still for a really long time? Like, do you feel like you gotta get up and do something at some point during the day, or you'll go crazy?
Uh, yeah, I would say so.
Do you
Yeah.
especially feel like you'll go crazy if you don't work out at all?
No,
No.
not so much.
All right, so you kind of have to make yourself do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like you're an ISTP. I was thinking you might even be an ESTP, but that doesn't really seem to be the case.
Yeah. I was kind of going down that road a bit. The SE thing is kind of difficult for me. I guess the NES versus SE thing is a bit hard for me to grasp, I guess, but
Hmm.
maybe
Well,
maybe I do just need to do more stuff to keep my mind occupied, or I'm not sure. But I know like the one thing about ISTP is I'm not sure if I would be like the master of the craft stereotype is a bit
no,
hard for me because
that's
I always
super
get
stereotypes.
yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Okay.
Um, I mean, I would say one possible contradiction is ISTPs usually have, I guess, more of an idea of what they want to do or like something that they decide to focus on. I would say maybe the most pertinent aspect of the whole, master of your craft thing is just the fact that they do tend to get like really good at whatever they happen to be focused on. And that could be literally anything. It could be video games. I've seen that many times, especially with something like first-person shooters that require a lot of like good reflexes.
Yeah.
Um, they'll get insanely good at those games, or fighting games, or like basically anything. I know people who are ISTPs and they're huge nerds and they play video games, and it's like any video game they touch basically turns to gold in their hands, and it doesn't take long. Because you do quickly understand the mechanics of something and how it works, and how to maximize your effectiveness at whatever it is that you're doing. And it doesn't really just have to be a purely physical thing either. But the thing is they just tend not to be overly interested in like super like abstract like kinds of thinking that literally have no bearing on their life or what they're doing whatsoever. I mean, I don't know how like philosophical of a person you are, or like how often you spend thinking about like politics or psychology or just sort of like the deeper meaning of life kind of crap.
Yeah, I guess quite a bit, I would say. Yeah, to me, like the SE, the problem I have with figuring that out is like the entropy of the world, like definitely creeps up on me like all the time, where I'm like, where like, yeah, I'm the type of person where my car is gets super messy super fast, and then I'm like, didn't didn't I just clean this? But it's been like a couple weeks, I guess, sort of thing. So that's um,
That doesn't really
I'm not
mean too much.
okay.
Um, I would say you're not. I will say like maybe extroverted sensing dominant people maybe paying enough constant attention to their environment in that way where like I know ESTPs who get kind of annoyed when things start to get messy, um, and they're really kind of on top of it. Um, a lot of ISPs don't really notice it very much at all. Like my mother's an ISFP, and she'll basically spend most of the week, not really noticing how gross everything is getting, and then all of a sudden, like Sunday, we'll run around and she'll be like, "Oh my God, this place is disgusting," and then she'll just start manically cleaning everything. Um,
Okay.
but I mean, as an introvert, like an IP, I would say any IP type is probably going to be pretty messy most of the time, or disorganized in a lot of ways, unless it's something that I guess they're really focusing on or that's important to them. Like if you're an ISTP who like builds model planes, for example, maybe all your like plane parts will be in order, but like you could still have clothes and shit all over your room and like not care.
Okay. Interesting.
I don't know if you relate to that at all.
Yeah, I definitely don't care. I mean, yeah, and like material things, don't care. I got to the point where I'm like, I won't buy anything new because I know I'll take care of it just the same way I take care of of my old things as well. So
Do you not take good care of your stuff?
yeah, I would say I
Do you like
don't really.
break things and lose them a lot?
Yeah, I lose things, but I don't know if I break them. But yeah, I just don't. Yeah, like maintenance is sort of like the last thing on my mind all the time. So it's like moving forward or what's the next thing. And like, yeah, where I live doesn't really matter either. I'm more like just exploring around and wherever I live, just a place to sleep, I guess.
Part of the reason I think you're an SE user is basically the fact that you're exploratory in nature, but literally in terms of I guess where you're going and what you're actually doing, as opposed to it being kind of like a purely mental exercise.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of a difference. Not that you don't engage in mental exercises. I mean, what kind of stuff do you think about a lot of the time?
Uh, yeah. Normally about the future things.
Like what you're going to
I'm always
do?
like, yeah, what to do next? I'm like, maybe I'll start a business. Maybe I'll do this. And it's got to the point where it's like, no one really takes me seriously anymore because I know it's like a half-baked idea that I probably won't act on or take the first step. So for actually, that's a good point. And NI, how does that work in the terms of ISTP? That's one I don't really understand too
Well,
well
I
either.
mean, how it works in a nutshell, and why I think you do kind of align with it, is it has a lot to do with the fact that you have to kind of set that goal first and then take action in accordance with it. And kind of how you're always sort of thinking about what you might do next. So you're kind of like setting NI points. And then
Okay.
if ever you're actually sort of, I guess if you're determined via TI that it's actually, I guess, a goal worth pursuing, then, you know, the SE sort of kicks in and you just kind of do it. And in that sense, it's really kind of easy for you to do what you set your mind to, I guess I would say. Whereas for
Okay.
someone like me, it's really not at all. I basically don't get anything done, and I tend to sit in the same place, like very kind of inertia based. And I can get very
Yeah.
comfortable where I am without kind of any thought for where I'm going to go next in the future, which can be really bad sometimes.
Okay. That's a good point. Yeah, I'm always thinking about the future. Yeah, yeah. SI was like a hard one for me to accept as if I was an INTP, because yeah, and maintenance, memory. If it was in my cognitive stack, it would be super low, and like FE would definitely be higher than SI for sure.
Well, ironically, SI for you is not necessarily going to be bad. It's just not something that's really important to you in your own life.
Yeah.
But in terms of your ability to, I guess, focus on details when necessary, I guess particularly and maybe in like a workplace setting, you might actually be more, I guess, notice physical details more than someone like me would. But at the same time, my SI can be like, I guess certain objects will be like super important to me, and I'll try to take really good care of them. Like my smartphone, for example. Like I'll make sure I got like military grade protection on that thing because I know that I'm gonna break it. You know, my
Yeah,
computer
I just took
is,
my case off my phone, so
you know, like certain things will like mean a lot to me, but in general, like my living situation will be pretty Spartan and shit will be thrown all over the place, and I won't really care. But one thing that's important is that I'll know where everything is. Like even though it may seem disorganized to someone else, like I know that I put my wallet right there in the corner of that table yesterday, because that's where I always put it.
okay.
And it's kind of like everything has its place, sort of. And if someone were to like move it from that place, when I know that I put it there, it'll really throw me for a loop.
Yeah,
Uh,
makes sense.
and I guess my memory of something can be really good, provided that I've done it enough times.
This is Kristen.
Now I don't know if this applies to you too much, but what I notice with like SE and I people is they don't necessarily have to make a bunch of mistakes first to get something right or to remember something.
Okay, yeah, that was something I was gonna say that I don't really relate to. What you kept saying uh, in one of those videos is, yeah, I'm super fast learner,
Right.
and I don't. Yeah, I sort of can, yeah, just pick it up,
Yeah, I don't
but
learn that quickly. I learn very thoroughly.
yeah, okay, yeah, because uh, I that was just a comment that I was like, I don't really picture myself like trying the wrong thing first to try to find the process or what the right way is.
And in that sense, that's kind of what makes an ISTP more efficient than an INTP when it comes to doing most things. We're just good at understanding things on an abstract level. Uh,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. For one thing, like, yeah, for the goal setting too, it's like, it's hard for me to like pick a goal unless like it's someone else's goal, I guess. I'm always like a good second person behind the leader of like even friends. Like if someone wants to do something, I'll be on board to make it happen. But it's hard for me to be the one to pick what to do because I never really know what I want to do. So that's sort of, I was thinking the INTP was sort of similar, but
No, that's actually something I can relate to you on. Is I think that's more of like an FE fourth slot deal where you don't necessarily have your own preferences, or at the very least, you don't want to impose them on other people. And it tends to be a lot easier just to go along with what the group around you is doing, because you can pretty much enjoy anything, I guess, as long as you're having a good time with whoever like the people are, or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean
cool.
I definitely do the same thing. Like whenever I'm hanging out with friends, I'm just like, I don't know, what do you want to do? I'll just do whatever you're doing. Just hit me up, come pick me up. I'll get in the car and we'll go.
Yeah, it's bad when your girlfriend asks you what you want for dinner or something.
Oh
Your
yeah.
wife.
Well, it also ties into like the FI and 8 slot too. It's kind of hard to figure out what you really like or what you have preferences for, because it's like you have to have like a logical reason for why you like something, which is rarely ever the case for why
Yeah,
somebody likes something.
or even why people would like you. You're like, I don't understand why you like me, but
Yeah, exactly.
you like me for some reason, so
Right.
I'll go with it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's definitely something both ITPs can relate on.
good. Yeah, that's
But I mean, you have like 20 minutes left, so if you have any more questions, or if you want me to try to clear anything up.
yeah, that was pretty fast actually. It's okay. Yeah, so I was just curious, like I know when you watch some people, you see like, oh, you're an any user because you can see them making things. What does a TI Dom person look like when they're talking? Are they looking around, or they're not looking at the person, or you can see they're making logical judgments in their head,
Um,
or is it just more a question based thing for that?
I guess it has more to do with, it's more of a question-based thing, but at the same time, I guess what I see you doing is sort of making frequent pauses and sort of, it's like I can see the gears turning in your head a lot, although you may not be like saying a whole lot of anything, because it's like
Yeah.
like
I
you're
was like, I'm thinking about it, but I
trying to
can't
figure out how to
get it out.
articulate yourself
Yeah.
properly. So that's sort of a TI thing, and you're definitely kind of very slowly, sort of soft-spoken, kind of plotting, methodical in your nature, um, which is another good sign of an introverted, thinking, dominant person. But at the same time, compared to some other introverts, like especially like SI and NI DOMs, you're not sitting like stone still. Like I could see you kind of moving around a lot as you think and as you speak to me,
Hmm.
which is kind of a hint that you have that extroverted perception function in the second position.
All right.
Uh, but I can tell that you do make sense of things to a pretty deep degree in your own lane. Someone who has TI in like their second slot, it's like their logic, or like what they think they know or believe, doesn't seem to stay like super consistent from day to day or from week to week. Whereas with someone who's like TI dominant, it stays like a lot more kind of static across time. Someone with like TI tool is, it's like they're like making up logic in the moment on the spot. Like it's contextually based in order to deal with like whatever's right in front of their face. So they're just trying to find a way to just rationalize things, and then they just kind of move on to whatever they're doing next. And they may kind of easily forget what it was that they said before, or they may just kind of backpedal on whatever they seem to believe pretty strongly a few days ago. But
Yeah.
I don't really get that from you at all.
Thanks. So I'm just sort of curious, as your own life as an electrician, do you work on breakdowns? You said you weren't working in a factory, or do you sort of?
Right now, I am a maintenance tech in a plant that manufactures those plastic car parts that are plated with chrome, which actually takes quite a bit to do to get chrome to stick to plastic. We actually have like this huge bank of giant rectifiers that basically pumps like 10,000 amps of direct current through these tanks that have like these copper balls in them, and it takes just massive amperage basically to get the chrome to actually stick.
Wow. So as a tech, are you like the project person? Or are you the help when issues come?
Yeah, I just fix stuff when it breaks, basically. Sometimes we have kind of more involved projects where we're actually like building something new, or maybe like a new piece of equipment comes in and we got to get it hooked up and get it running. But yeah, mostly I just keep the plant in working order. You know, if an airline starts leaking, you know, I gotta repair it. Stuff like that.
Okay. And is that like a lot of, like, for breakdowns? Is that like a lot of stress for you as an INTP, or do you like the fact that you get to try something new to fix it? Or I'm just curious, because as I was a supervisor last year, I get lots of electricians. They would come and be like, "Oh, I'm not trained for that," and they wouldn't even want to try to like fix something. But it's like totally the opposite mindset of me. Like, I'd be excited to try to figure it out if I was in their position. But I was like, yeah, we could go there. Like, I could check the HMI. I can know it's that sensor, sort of thing,
Yeah,
and then like that sort of thing. But I don't know.
I think you and I are pretty similar in the fact that we like to try to figure stuff out, even if we have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess on the one hand, it's stressful for me because it's really not the kind of, like, I'm not naturally good at hands-on stuff whatsoever. Um, I'm the kind of person who I really should have been an engineer, basically, but I ended up getting into the trades anyway. But I do kind of appreciate, I guess, sort of forcing myself to get better at stuff that I really would never be good at. Um, you know, my spatial awareness isn't the best, so it can be kind of a dangerous job for me to be doing, because I easily kind of forget what's going on around me. I do like that I'm not always doing the same thing every day. I guess that is nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one thing I appreciate about it. And as a contractor, I appreciated, like, I guess generally not. I like not having to sit at a desk all day. To be honest, I do like being able to move around a little bit or even be outside. I
Yeah. No.
yeah. I mean, I'm kind of with you. Like I really appreciate like you're gonna pay me to sit here and like take a pump apart and put it back together. Like that's great. I mean, I'll figure it out eventually. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's you're like I was a process tech for a couple of years, and you're like the plant's broke down, and you're kind of there to fix it. You're the only one there, and you gotta. I mean, you might as well try to figure it out, because if you don't, then I guess you'll call in the big guns afterwards. But at least you get the opportunity to try to learn it, and it's kind of satisfying once you do, if you do figure it out too.
I'm definitely
Yeah.
not one to shy away from attempting something if I've been, tasked with trying to do it or whatever. Provided I don't think I'm totally gonna fuck or blow something up.
Yeah. So yeah, sort of just makes me think about personalities. I'm like, is that like a high SI user, or like who someone who doesn't like want change, or what? I just yeah, this makes me think like what people
I would say
they just want to.
a really high SI users like SI DOMs are probably the type of people who are very reluctant to do things that they're not already comfortable with, more than any
Yeah.
other type. They really feel like they need to have that prior like personal experience in order to deal with things. They have to kind of know how it's going to play out before they do it.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone's different, and it's kind of cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
the whole thing's cool, but everyone's got their strengths and weaknesses. So that's something like that. I different than most people. I tend to see people for just like what they're good at. Like someone who's like annoying to most people is won't be annoying to me for like the longest time. Like maybe they'll get on my nerves after a while. Like I had a coworker, I was pretty sure it was an ENTP or something like that. It would just come in and ask 100 questions, and like I'm super patient. Like doesn't bother me at all. But like half the people, like, how can you stand that person? Like, and then they just come in and they're all over the place, and yeah. And then like even someone who's lazy, they're like, that person's so lazy. It's like, yeah, but the, that person's also smart. Like, I mean, they're not picking up the first one to pick up the broom, but they're smart and they'll figure it out. So yeah, that's another difference I noticed between myself and most people as well. But
I think
not sure what that is.
INTPs and ISTPs are both the kind of person who really can get along with anybody, as long provided other people aren't judging us. Like you said, it's really kind of easy for you or me, for that matter, to like rationalize how well they're not really that bad, or maybe they're just having a bad day, or whatever the case may be. Um,
Yeah, which is why I couldn't do leadership anyway, because I can't. It's hard for me to call someone on their bullshit.
right.
Most of the time.
Well, that puts you in a compromising position, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
exactly.
You're not exactly good at managing that social dynamic, especially if you're not like totally sure about what you're saying. Like, what if you call this person out and you're wrong? Like, then you look like an idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I get it.
Yeah, I also noticed like everyone's into the Enneagram thing on there as well. It's something that I've had trouble. I've looked into it a bit, but I have trouble like understanding. If I don't understand the mechanism, it's going to be hard for me to figure out. Like the one part I liked is like it's more like when you're in a stressed, what kind of person you become, um, or what kind of like. But like the whole like archetype thing is kind of a little hard. I know it probably comes from like studying, but it seems less of a hard, like I'm more into hard science. So like the MBTI, it's like you got the got the 4 dichotomies, and you're like a certain percentile on each, and then it translates into the cognitive functions, which are like mechanisms, and then you can see it play out. But like right now, I'm just on the surface, and I just see like 9 types. But it's I don't know if you know much about that,
I
or what would be a good source to like actually get into it, or even if it's
I
worth
spent.
getting into.
It's worth getting into, I think, as a compliment to MBTI. Like if you can't understand it, it's a really good way to explain, for example, what makes this INTP different from that INTP. Um, you know, but it is. You're right. It's a lot less, I guess, for lack of a better word, scientific, and it's way more fluid, and it's way harder to like pin down. And so you kind of have to slowly wrap your mind around it in like a really fuzzy way. And it doesn't help that it's not really, things are not consistently defined or explained across different sources, and everyone seems to have their own understanding of it, and it's very wishy-washy. But I mean, I have read about it and studied it a decent amount. I know other people who are better with it than me, and I usually just consult them. But I know enough to kind of understand what they explain to me. Um, I can try to. I'll email you a link to a website that I think explains the Enneagram types like as well as I've ever seen it explained. So maybe that'll help. But I think if you take like your MBTI type plus your Enneagram tri-type or whatever they call it, um, yeah, paints a pretty detailed picture of what kind of a person you are.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because I thought I was a 5. Like I had one boss who was into it, so he was like, he thought I was a 4, I think, which I think is an individualist, which makes me think that I wasn't doing what he that I wasn't doing what he wanted me to do. But I was like, maybe I'm a 5. But then now I think like a 9 makes sense, where I'm like, where I'm when I'm stressed, I just want like everyone to be happy, sort of thing. So I kind of do some
Uh,
passive aggressive things, or maybe, but just on the surface. But um,
I will tell you,
yeah,
you're most likely a 9. I mean, I thought I was a 5 at first. I mean, and it's easy to go right to being a 5 if you're like a TI Dom, for example, because there's some amount of correlation going on there. But I eventually realized that I'm a 9. Um, basically, I'm pretty, I guess, a lethargic kind of person in a lot of ways, and I suffer from a serious case of like fuzzy brain, where it doesn't actually feel like my thoughts are particularly sharp or specific or accurate a lot of the time. But and that's kind of the experience of being a 9. We're also usually pretty chill and I guess particularly easy to be around compared to maybe other examples of our type. That's one aspect of 9. It's kind of easy for us to meld into the environment around us.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to be a 9, but I guess I
No,
am.
being a 9 is cool. I mean, it's the fact is like certain types are just way more common than others with the Enneagram, at least. Like
Yeah,
like 9s and 6s, and I guess 3s are supposed to be the most common types. Um,
yeah. The only reason I say
very
that
few
is
people
because
I meet are actually like 4s, for example.
yeah, it sort of highlights what I don't like about myself. So that's why I say
That usually
that.
means you're on point, actually. Yeah, makes you feel like you're being roasted. But
Yeah, perfect.
yeah,
Well, yeah. Thanks for your time.
well,
Appreciate it.
thanks for your patronage.
Glad to see you're on getting back into it again. So I mean, I've only been like sort of following for like 2 weeks or whatever, but yeah, I've been enthralled and obsessed as I get with stuff. So it's cool.
Yeah, I'm just trying to have fun, get some information out there. hopefully learn something more myself.
Yeah, help other people too. So yeah.
That's always the goal. All right. Well, thank you. If you you can always email me later on. Do you have anything else you want to ask me or talk about or whatever? I'll try to get you that link. So I'll stop recording now.